Yo, I've been eyeballing you all day. Looking all fine and shit. I wanna lick you down. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Lady and gentlemen and women. How are you? Welcome back. Welcome to Fat Talk. I'm your co-host, Chuck Hernandez, with my buddy over here, Frank Collazo, and his Coke Zero. Always Coke Zero for Frank Collazo.
That's right.
And
That's right.
he's a sweet tooth. And you know, man, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is Fat Talk.
This is Fat Talk.
I may have asked you this before.
Probably.
I my whole life is consumed with a unhealthy relationship with food, right? I love it all. I don't care what it is. I love it. I'm a pig, right? I have a palate of a garbage disposal.
I'm a fucking pig.
So that's okay. So that's my question for you. Would you say that you had a favorite thing?
One favorite type of food?
Like sweets or?
Oh, I love ice cream. I think that's my weakness, ice cream.
So your weakness is ice cream?
Ice cream and like sour candies, like the.
Oh my God, chamoy.
No, dude.
Well, that's sour candy.
No.
You're talking about like Sour Patch Kids.
Like the Sour Belts and Sour Patch Kids. Yeah.
All right.
I'm not a big fan of Mexican candy. I don't like tamarind. I don't like tamarindo. I don't like chamoy. I've just never been a big fan of it.
Even though it's what is it? Tangy or whatever, like sour.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, the flavor. And I'm not a big sweet and spicy person. There's a lot of people that like sweet, spicy.
Yeah.
I don't like. I like my sweet separate. I love spicy. I love sweet. I just don't like them together.
See, that's where that. Yeah, I
kind of like people.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
I like them sweet and I like them spicy, but I don't like them sweet and spicy.
Yeah. No, it's ice cream though. It's for sure my
ice cream. Man, you know what? When I was at my worst, I would eat a pint of ice cream regularly, right? And the more stuff in it, the better. Ben and Jerry's for me. Just total eat the whole.
I was a Haagen-Dazs person.
Yeah, Haagen-Dazs is good, but for whatever reason, I just gravitate towards Ben and Jerry's. To me, taste, and then the fact that they throw so much stuff in there.
Yeah.
I like a bunch of stuff in there. Like orange leaf is kind of a food wet dream type thing.
Oh, you like that one? You like putting like all random stuff in there.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what's funny is I like orange leaf, but I don't go and put a bunch of different things. I just like the fact that you can. But every time I go, I do, I prefer like Reese's peanut butter cups and like pecans and stuff like that. So
you like the freedom.
I like the freedom, baby. I'm a freedom fighter, baby. Yeah.
You like to, you know what? If I wanted to.
Exactly. I just want the ability to eat all of these things at once, which, one of my sons or both of them will probably at times throw some stupid, silly concoction together. You're right.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't finish it, so I have to eat it. I don't want to be wasting
money. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of money.
But cherry sours with milk chocolate. I mean, it's just all over the place. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up because you've always got your Coke, and so that's your little peccadillo. That's your little treat each day. That's consistent. But I wanted to ask you that. Now, having said that, our theme for today is it's Black Lives Matter, right?
Right. Yep.
We're in the midst of a
crazy shit.
Of a
quasi-revolution.
It's a politically charged movement against police brutality,
right?
Injustice,
right?
Inequity, right?
Right.
And we're in the middle of a revolution. There's been a lot of protests around the country, around the world as of late. And so, I believe that, and I'm gonna be presumptuous and say that you and I support equality and justice and
Absolutely.
reform.
Absolutely.
And that is something that, has to happen. Positive change, reform,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so my question is for you. Um, there were a number of people protesting in San Antonio recently.
Yep.
You have a store. You're an entrepreneur and
Mhm.
have a store shop. Tell me about how that impacted you personally, and what were you thinking during all this?
Well, of course, I was worried because we are at the edge of. I mean, people were right, a block away breaking shit. You know what I mean? Fortunately for us, our business was not hit. The park that it's in, there was some vandalism with spray paint, but fortunately not our shop. Um, man, it's such a weird thing that we're going through right now because, and I think this is just in general that people grasp onto whatever they're feeling in that moment and how it affects them. Typically, in my opinion, um, you know, am I for protesting? 100 absolutely. That's God bless America. Because in other countries you protest, you get fucking. You're watching that shit in China. They're getting fucking jailed and beat up in the streets, and it's very different. And here we have the freedoms to do that. That's what is supposed to make this country great. Is that when the collective says this, we need to make a change, that we're supposed to be listened to. I was worried about my shop being vandalized because, I don't I don't feel that the people that were there that were truly there to protest, which is 99.9% of the people there, I believe it's an opportunity for people that don't have the right purpose behind them to just be destructive for no reason. And it's no different than a cop who has all this power to use it in a shitty way, that policeman killed George. So, you know, you know, this is, and then you hear arguments from both, like, well, that's why they riot, because they haven't been heard, and maybe that's true. But again, I don't think that makes it right. I don't think burning down, and then people are like, well, Target, well, you're insured. It's lives over material. And it's like, yeah, of course. Like, if anybody says they pick a material over a life, is a fucking idiot. But I wish it was that simple of like, oh yeah, burn my building down, my insurance will cover it. Well, they might not. They might say, well, sorry. And just like with the COVID, I pay insurance every fucking month, and business owners are having to sue their insurance companies because they're saying, well, we can't cover that because this is nature. We can't cover nature. So what do I pay all this insurance for if I can't claim something? You know what I mean? So, I get people are fucking pissed, man, and I get it. It's not right, but to be honest, I know, we just said revolution in the beginning of the segment, but I don't know if people really are ready for revolution, because there's a lot of talking, but there's not very much walking other than protesting. To me, walking is changing the system. You can't fix something with if you have the system in place that's been doing it this way for hundreds of years. Expecting it to change, I think, is very ignorant, to think that by us protesting or rioting even is going to change the system, when you have the same two teams playing the same game for the past however many years. I think the way you start revolution is you have to kick out the powers that be. And right now we have a two-party system that it doesn't matter if you look at the timeline, you back it out. Debt goes up. The national debt, endless wars, and both parties vote for this shit to keep happening. And yeah, Do I think Donald Trump's a fucking idiot? Absolutely. But you know what? I didn't fucking vote for that fucker, you know, and I voted for a third party because I truly believe that this is without a doubt. This is 100 a fact that the strongest voting population in this country is undecided. That's what sways the votes every year. The political pendulum every year is undecided. And what happened is people get sick of one side and the pendulum sweeps back to the other side.
And exactly.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
And brother, I truly believe if people really want a revolution in this country, then you can't have the attitude of, oh, well, I'm going to pick the lesser of two evil. Or the attitude of, well, not voting for Biden is voting for Trump. Like, no, fuck you. I'm going to vote for somebody I believe can change. And if you're, in my opinion, too fucking dumb or too ignorant or too lazy or whatever to vote for somebody you truly believe in, then you're also a part of the problem. You're part of the system. And until we break the system, that's a revolution, brother. That's how we fucking get change. By kicking these assholes out of office. By people that have been in office for fucking decades, bro. This system wasn't set up for that. It used to be a volunteer job. Now you have fucking people making a huge livings doing this, you know? So, you know, I am ready for revolution. And, you know, I'll tell you 100% right here, I'm a libertarian. I'm part of the Libertarian Party. I'm going to vote for the Libertarian candidate, Jo Jorgensen. And is she the perfect person? Probably not. But I believe in her the most out of all the people that I think have a chance of winning. And the more people that, if as many people that are passionate about making change decide to say, you know what, fuck the two-party system, let's really go rock the vote, and let's really go behind and change the system and put somebody in power who is going to be more likely to be able to play the middle ground as far as like coming to conclusions that are like work for everybody versus my constituents and your constituents. Politicians, I feel that they think that their job is to do what's best for you instead of doing what the people want you to do.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
I'm not a fucking child. My job as a parent is to make sure my kid grows up and is a good person. That's my job. Mm-hmm. And I feel that politicians feel that they're our parents and they know what's best for us.
Yeah, exactly.
I say, fuck you. They don't know what's best for us.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be doing what we tell them to do, not what they feel is best for me. All right, I'm done.
So you know, I can tell you right now that if we were to spend time talking about all the different factors that are in play here, it would be, you know, a very long podcast, something that we're not interested in doing. It's not that we're not interested in doing, it's just that this is a health podcast.
Right.
But to ignore these factors in this, in our pursuits is false. And I'll tell you what,
bringing it back to health, Charlie. Look at our political system.
Hang on a second. I want to come back to that concept of health and what we navigate. But I feel like, and maybe I'm too sensitive or what, but when that officer killed that man, George Floyd, I saw it and I stopped the video halfway into it because I thought, man, I don't need to see this. And then a couple minutes went by and I said, you know what? I do need to see this, because the fact is that our entire culture is American culture is broken, top to bottom, left to right. And so I feel what you're saying. I totally do. And I believe that the answer, whatever it happens to be, will require people from all sides of the spectrum to participate in having a growth mindset, right?
Yep.
being willing to work together to figure out an answer with better leadership, right? From more with more intelligence than we have right now currently, that can relate to not only the 1% in our country, and so what a couple of things I wanted to say about this is that you know I'm for evolution. I'm for change, right? The one thing that I felt that does need to be addressed in what you were saying is, if you look at what has become or the effects of the protests, there have been some major victories, right? People that are in positions of political power being put on notice, things that represent hatred, right, or intolerance are being challenged, right? I used to specifically stuff like the Confederate flag usage or whatever, right?
The Confederate
Um,
flag, is that a
yeah, exactly.
was that a 40-inch
Exactly. That's a adult movie that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, we should let's greenlight it. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. It was just there's so much to this movement. On top of it, I thought, man, and I've said as much to a couple of people. Uh, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm seeing all these pictures of all these people standing right next to each other. We don't know what the effects of that are going to be. Having said that, I kind of subscribe to what you're saying in that, people being prepared for a revolution. You're right. The answer isn't, Biden or Trump long term, right? These guys are old and out of touch, and but I will say this, and so you said that you're voting libertarian. I'm definitely voting Biden, not but more because of the anxiety or I guess the fact that I would rather see Trump lose than because I understand what you're saying with your affiliation with Libertarian Party, but I would rather see Trump lose, and I think that the best chance for that is with Biden. Having said that, it's I think that I've got very liberal-minded viewpoints, and I would say that I'm definitely leaning towards a straight ticket vote for Democrats, right? Because of the underlying philosophy platform of the party. However, things don't end even if Biden wins. This has to be systemic change no matter who's in power, because police brutality didn't take a break when there were Democratic presidents, and there are other things that need addressing, right? And so this is something that this is a health podcast, but it would be wrong to not address this, because
Right.
because I also believe that, and I don't know if this is where you were headed, just the health of those people that have no political power in this country, the people who aren't a part of political action committees and political influence, and part of the 1% concept and stuff like that. And the fact is that there is a lot of people that are struggling that with their health and trying to navigate this system. And so like you said, your job is to raise your son. So is mine. That's my first job, right? To raise my sons, and to do the best I can at that, and to navigate this system.
Yep.
And I think that and you said it best before when you said government's not going to save you, and that's absolutely true. No government program will save anybody. You've got to be, as proactive as you can, and to save yourself. Do people need help from the government? Absolutely. That social welfare is important, right? And so that concept is something that I believe that our pursuits of health, is navigating that. I mean, because I was telling somebody before, there is this big dichotomy in life that I can see, and that is that all those reasons that you don't pursue your health or whatever it happens to be, right? They may all be valid, right? You may carry a lot of trauma, a lot of emotion. You're a victim of circumstance, whatever, your lot in life, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then and those may be all valid reasons. But on the other side of that coin is it doesn't matter. None of that matters, right? What's his name? Lamar Jackson from Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
He has a shirt that he wears all the time that says "Nobody cares, work harder," and that is basically the bottom line, right? The concept is okay. Everybody's put on notice now, right? There needs to be reform. Okay, we need. What does that look like, right? It's not over. We're just beginning this evolution. That should be a constant awakening, a constant addressing of things that need to be addressed. Quite honestly, this time during this pandemic, I've slowly been able to pay attention to things that need attention. And there's a line in the book, Death of a Salesman, and I love the book to begin with, right? It's a great play, whatever. And my father-in-law, he was toasted with this phrase or quote or whatever from the book,
Mhm.
and because it had never stuck out to me, but it's important. And the quote is, "Attention must be paid," right? And it's applicable to absolutely everything, right? In that at some point you're going to have to address these things. And that's what this is, right? Inequity, right? Protests, all these things will have to be, it's there has to be attention paid to the things that need attention. And
Right.
so for me, being 525 pounds, looking as if this, I mean, I was scared that at some point I was just going to have a heart attack or something. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. And I set out to do it. And I've lost, as of my last weigh-in, I've lost 252 pounds with 73 pounds to go. And as crazy as it sounds that I set out to lose 325 pounds, I'm doing it. I'm figuring it out. I'm navigating it because you know what? It doesn't matter. All those things, those excuses as to why I didn't do it in the past don't matter.
Right.
I take those experiences, those mistakes, those failures, those successes, and I look at the future because that's the only thing I can affect. In fact, not even that far. The moment in front of me.
Right.
My dysfunction is completely at my core. My addiction to food, my addiction to unhealthy behaviors and habits. That's what to me, that's what speaks to me about the Black Lives Matter movement, is that this is all just a festering boil that needed to be addressed for however many years, in however many ways. Police
Right.
brutality, injustice. Now here's the thing is, just because this movement's taking place, there are people that are not going to be convinced that what they think and what they do and what they say is not let's say, wrong. I see people posting pictures of stepping on the back, mimicking and mocking the death of this man,
Yep.
and it's sick. Just like it is, it's dysfunction. But at some point that's got to be addressed. I mean, it's like, or it doesn't, and you continue on, and you're ignorant, and you're not addressing those things. But I truly believe that it's encouraging to see so many people who care, not only nationally but internationally. Our president is a polarizing figure that is unintelligent, and that is creating a very difficult situation by not by being out of touch. He mentioned something about the unemployment rate changing, and that George Floyd, it's a victory for him. I mean, the guy is completely out of touch. Having said that, just because that guy's gone, you're talking about systemic problems. You're talking about, you've got to address that stuff. There was a man they interviewed on TV, and they said, and he brought this very topic up, and he said, why can't the United States have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission the way that South Africa did with apartheid? And you know what? It's crazy. It's like what that is. That's therapy. That's you dealing with your problems, right? That's you talking about it. Fat talk, weight loss meetings. When I got those going, when you don't reflect on what is eating you, right? Eating at you. If you don't reflect on the things that need attention, then it starts to fester, right? And you have no self-awareness, and it's a sickness, really, because it's like, at my worst, I'm certain that people that I knew or worked with, whatever, probably said, that, I've got a problem, right? I mean, you're not 525 pounds and healthy, right? And so, I will say that I'm a believer in evolution, in redemption. I mean, certain things could be done by people who have a little self-awareness about their actions, and no one is a saint, right? No one is beyond, being, guilt-free, but there's a quote by Gandhi that says, "I don't live my life by what I have said, but by the truth as it reveals itself to me," right? Meaning, as you get older and you become hopefully more intelligent and you evolve, maybe you realize what your mistakes were, and maybe if you're lucky, you have a chance to reconcile that. And I don't think that anybody is wrong for having their beliefs, nor should they be persecuted for having their beliefs. But there are certain things that need attention in our country, and I think that the globe is supporting that. Me personally speaking, I'm a true believer in it, but I'm also, my number one priority is not getting coronavirus, protecting my family, and doing my job, my jobs, and so that's what I've been doing, because that's and so however, I will say that the amount of people that have gone out, it's amazing, which goes to say that, which also speaks to the fact that they're fully aware of Corona as well. And to them, the people that are out there protesting, which I give them props for doing that, they're being, I guess, they're doing it despite that threat, which in some cases I've seen a lot of protesters who were social distancing as they protested, and then I've seen the opposite, And the most disheartening thing is seeing the police brutality during these peaceful protests. If somebody's looting, put it down. Put that, get that. You stop the looting. Peaceful protests. That is at the heart of this country's foundation.
Yep.
And so there are a lot of things that need to be
I'll
addressed.
give you a quote from one of my favorite old school poets.
Who is that?
KRS-One. Remember KRS-One, the rapper?
Yeah, baby.
You'll never get justice on stolen land. That's what America is. It's a country that was built on destruction.
Hell yeah.
Slaves, built on destroying native people.
Yep.
And that's why I truly feel the only way you can make change is you have to be a part of the game. If you want to change the game, you got to get into the game. And the only way you can get into the game, in my opinion, is to get the guys who are playing the game the most. You have to go and infiltrate it, man. So that's where that's where I yes, all what you're saying is true, but I'm for less government because I feel the government has got us into this fucking mess.
Yeah.
And I don't think bringing more layers of government to look over the other layers of government, because it's going to be fucking corrupt.
Yeah.
There's that's what humans do.
Yeah.
The same asshole who's mocking the George Floyd being killed by kneeling on is the same asshole that gets elected to a position in power. I don't think on any level that politicians are on the level. And I'm not going to say anything bad about local politicians because, again, this isn't what this is about.
Sure.
And I'm going to make changes by doing what I can do to support people I believe can make changes, because I think that's the way change is made, is by getting behind the leaders that you support.
Sure.
But I've spoke personally to some of our city council members or Texas state representatives that, in my opinion, do not have our city or us as their primary interest. Just speaking with them one-on-one, asking them questions and seeing and hearing their replies, to me it's simply what they're going to get out of it. I have zero trust for government, and that's not even saying about policemen. Like I've never had, dude. I've been arrested. I've been fucking in jail. Right? I've had the cops pull me out. I'm fucking tattooed. I look like a fucking thug most of my life. I've been pulled over and pulled out my car, patted down. But you know what? I don't, how do you fix the problem of people being racist?
Yeah.
I don't think it can be. The reason I say that is because everybody there's nobody on earth who doesn't have some sort of prejudice in them. Because everybody's brought up in an environment where there's some sort of prejudice.
Sure.
And until that is cut out, it's very difficult to wash it out, man.
Yeah.
So, I guess I don't have, I mean, the people that have the most health problems in this country are fucking minorities.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know why? It's our government tells you, oh, we'll take care of you. We'll put you on welfare, whatever. And these people are in a system of eating shitty food because it comes down to the education, bro. 100%. I think we said that on the last episode, is getting people educated. Social media is the downfall of humankind. And I just feel like that's going to continue to that's never going to stop. The more technology we get, the smarter we are, the bigger our egos get. I think, I don't know. How do you get policemen? We need policemen.
Sure.
I've had to call the police.
Yeah, of course.
So we need policemen.
Yes.
So how do we get rid of people, not policemen? How do we get rid of shitty people?
Yeah.
Because shitty people are going to apply to be policemen.
And you know what? It's funny because here's the thing is, basically what I believe you're saying is there's going to be good and bad people in every profession, right? And so the concept is, do you need a police force? Absolutely. You need somebody to enforce the law. Otherwise, there would be chaos. But when that enforcement of the law is prejudicial, systematically, right? It's not like, oh, it's one guy. No, studies have come out that say that, minorities are unfairly targeted. And so
Right.
that to me
40
can,
years ago,
can be
40 years
addressed,
ago,
right?
people, 40 years ago, less than a generation ago, people were still not allowed to go to schools with other people.
Yeah, exactly. I know, exactly.
I'm going to say, sorry, 60 years ago. Like
Yeah,
our parents,
our parents' generation, yeah, they grew up.
our grandparents
Yeah,
weren't able to, like, in a lot of places, weren't allowed to go where
yeah,
other people were, right?
exactly.
And the dominating culture at first here was white, so they
Sure.
set the rules, right? so,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that my grandfather was fucking racist, and he used to say racist shit to me all the time when I was a kid.
And I think that's a part of. I think that's been a part of the discussion as far as I've seen, which is to say that, and I'm not making excuses, but I can tell you right now, speaking from experience, my upbringing was different than my parents' upbringing.
Absolutely.
My parents never,
Yeah, we went to fucking private school. We were fucking brats. Bro.
but you know what? I would say even more than that, the exposure to other cultures in a public
Right.
middle school,
Right.
because the idea for me is, I'm talking about in large scale, right? Our parents, or my parents, I don't know about yours, but they lived on the west side of San Antonio, where everything they needed was in the barrio, right? Everything they needed was in the neighborhood. And the first time that my dad is on a plane is when he's being shipped out for Vietnam,
Right.
for the Air Force.
Right.
And so that's his first encounter with an African American person was in the Air Force,
Right.
in basic training. Fresh out of high school, having flunked out at SAC and got his draft card from the Army, and he joined the Air Force instead before they could draft him. And his first experience was that.
Right.
Now here's the thing: is it that experience is different than growing up playing basketball with different ethnic friends, black friends,
Why did you
white
choose
friends.
basketball, bro? Why couldn't you say like tennis?
No, because I didn't like that. But I'm just saying, in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
playing with kids in the neighborhood that were from various ethnicities,
Right.
it was different living in the suburbs than living
Absolutely.
in a neighborhood where there was suburban flight, basically,
Right.
right? And so you have all these different families up there, this spectrum.
This is one
So
of
go ahead.
said one of the things my dad, when I was young, he would teach me or tell me, and I guess I kind of still believe in his philosophy. My dad, Mexican man,
Yeah.
dark skinned, spoke Spanish very well. Wanted to be in a primarily Caucasian field, engineering.
Yeah.
He wanted to go to engineering school and become an engineer. That was his dream, and he's successfully done that.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when I was a kid, he would tell me, he's like, listen, he would say, the office I go to, it's 98% white people, right? He goes, I have a choice. I can either go outside and complain and say, why aren't y'all hiring more Mexican or Hispanic or black people? Or I can go and infiltrate, and I can move up, and I can hire, when it's my turn to hire, I'm going to hire somebody that looks more like me, because I'm going to learn how to play the game. That way I can beat them at the game. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's what it comes down to for me is that the only way you can beat them at the game is you got to learn. You can't change the game if we keep on putting the same people in the game. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
does that make sense what I'm saying?
And I think it does. You know, I'll say this: our responsibility is to navigate the best we can,
Yeah.
and that's what our parents' generation did. That's
Right.
what our grandparents' generation did. To whatever to make ends meet, right? To figure it out, to navigate that as best you can, and so you know, a part of it is awareness, a part of it is support. You know, having a family to support you, you know, whatever. But you know, this you know this notion of living in America as a minority, right? Is a different experience, right? But that doesn't mean that you're excused from having uh, to navigate it. No one's going to pave that road, right? You've got to figure it out. You've got to you know, despite the protests and despite the change, you're still going to have to navigate people's prejudices because it's not going to change that. But what you can impact is whatever's in front of you, right? I'll tell you right now that I believe that our families, probably our kids, probably will experience um, a different, I guess, sensibility to this versus, you know, our upbringing,
Right.
which may have included stereotypical jokes and whatever. But it's all about evolution,
Yeah.
right? If you don't evolve, then you'll never consider, you know, that you're wrong. You'll never consider that you know, maybe there's more to it than your perspective. And I will say that I appreciate seeing some of the people post of some of the things they posted about. Right now is a time to listen and to learn and to grow. And I believe that that's, you know, that should be a part of the conversation. Um, you know, um,
You want to hear something crazy?
yeah,
So for my business, I posted a black square like people were doing last week, right?
yeah,
And had the most unfollows I've ever had. Like a whole bunch of people unfollowed us because of
sure, sure.
that. And you know, which is fucking to me hilarious. You know.
If you
So,
can't, yeah, exactly. I know what you're saying. Go ahead.
no, I just saying to like, I agree. And maybe, and this is where, you know, maybe, and probably to a fault, where I'm very, I don't know what the word is, like militant. You know, like where I'm like, you know what, I know what's best for me,
Sure.
and I know what I don't need anybody to tell me what's
Yeah.
best for me.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
You know, and what's best for you is different than what's best for me. And I want you to have what's best for you. And you're right. People, there are different perspectives than your own. Guess what? There's 7 billion different perspectives.
Yeah. Exactly.
And there's no two that are exactly the same.
Sure.
Dude, I'll never know what it's like to be a black guy.
Sure.
Never. I'll never know what it's like to be a woman.
Sure.
I'll never know what it's like to be anything other than this person that's talking to you, right? So, and my life experience has been 100 times different than yours, than the next person, you know. So, you know, there is no one answer. You know, there is no one side. We need to be on all the sides. We need to all be, and like you're right. We need to listen to each other,
Yeah. Totally.
you know, and we need to give each other, like, man, it's the golden rule, man. It's simple. Fucking, you treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
It's that fucking simple, bro. It's, you know, and like our kids are like, my son's 12, and I'm showing him this shit, and we're talking about it, you know, and I want to hear his response. And he's like, man, Dad, that's crazy. And it's like it's hard for him to understand, like how you know, how there's racism,
Yeah.
you know, his you know, and I'm sure your boys are the same. We're so young and innocent, where, you know, in my house we don't fucking, I don't say anything about anything when it comes to races, you know.
Yeah.
My son's half white, you
Yeah.
know, so there's no you know, I mean, I can't, I mean, yeah, who would admit it on video that you said something, racist or prejudice or whatever?
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, that the fact that he is aware and the fact that he thinks it's wrong, to me is like, okay, we're on the right path, right?
Yes.
And we've had this system in place for hundreds of years. And I truly believe it's going to take hundreds of years to undo or to have the pendulum swing back. Because that's what all this is, man. That's life.
Yeah.
For thousands of years, however long humans have been on Earth, people have been killing other people for stupid ass fucking reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, Christians can't even decide on which version of the Bible is fucking correct.
And so you have to navigate
Yeah.
this system regardless.
Right.
I mean that is so then
Yeah, it's like that Eddie Murphy when he's singing in Harlem Night or not Harlem Nights, Coming to America. I believe the children are the future.
Exactly.
Randy Watson.
Exactly. I will say this. Number one, I believe we support the protests. Similar.
We need some change, man.
We need systematic change. I also hope that people are taking whatever precautions they can, because it's a very tumultuous time, health wise speaking, right?
Is it still around? Is this still a thing?
What I've heard is that there's supposed to be clinical trials by the end of September for a vaccine, and so hang on one second. And so that's a move in the right direction, but there's still a lot of things that need to be addressed. Attention must be paid to everything. Now, here's the thing, like you're saying, it's going to take hundreds of years. And I'll tell you one thing, bro. I have a lot of things that I need to address, in order to get healthy, right? A lot of dysfunction, a lot of things that are just fundamentally just off, right? That I have to address. Habits, right? Just whatever, and to be what I believe I can be, or whatever that happens to be, right? My best, and so as impossible as losing 300 pounds sounded, I feel like I see it a little bit clearer now. I feel like having a growth mindset and embracing things is understanding that what you need today is not what you need, next week. Which in the big scheme of things, to wrap things up with this, about as serious a topic as we've ever talked about. The immediate answer, right, to me is get rid of Trump in November, right? That's number one.
I will not be voting for him, 100%.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
And then, but for me, it's kind of like, okay, if I was to relate it to myself, right? 2 years ago, when I was just starting out that summer, 2 years ago, still over 500 pounds. Do you realize how, just completely out of whack, just needing very attention to very many things. These days, just the constant refining, the constant reminding, the reminder to be mindful as much as you can, right? Because, perfection is impossible, but to learn from mistakes and to evolve and that sort of thing is a choice, right? And so right now, I believe we're living in a climate of change, right? We're living in a society that has to address 89 million Americans who are diabetic or pre-diabetic, right? So yeah, 86 million Americans that are pre-diabetic, 29 million Americans that are diabetic, many of which are from low socioeconomic economic classes, many of which who are minorities, many of which who don't have opportunity for quality education, many of whom are stuck in a system where inflation, outpaces their income. Their living wages aren't enough. Their wages aren't enough to live on. Attention must be paid, bro. And I'm happy that I am able to continue to take every opportunity to stay on the same trajectory, because you know what? Nobody cares. Work harder. Nobody cares that you haven't had a drink in forever. You're gonna cut loose on Saturday night or whatever. Nobody cares that you haven't eaten a ton. The fact is, you've got to stay focused on evolving. You've got to stay focused on surviving your business to survive, right? You've got to stay focused on making sure that you're impacting your sphere of influence in a positive way, right? And so it's a tough one, man. It really irked me to see so many people not really paying any attention to this, or as much attention to George Floyd's death when it happened, because it's just one of those things that you know this has been going on for a long time.
And you know why? That's why people didn't pay attention.
Exactly. Exactly.
Nothing's changing, right?
Exactly. So then whether whoever happens to win the presidential election, I believe that that's not an end all. That's just the next step. That's whoever it happens to be, and in turn Congress, and in turn local leadership and whatever. There's just a lot of work that has to be done. So what can you impact? What can you control? Yourself, your sphere of influence, how you raise your kids, how you interact with people, how you treat people, and stuff like that. It's hard to
Navigate.
It's hard to navigate these days. It doesn't matter where your perspective is. But I'm glad that we got a chance to talk. I know it's been a couple weeks, and you've been very busy, and I'm doing my best to.
We got some other things, some positive, happy things that are happening.
I believe so, man.
I'm a pessimistic person by nature, man.
Sure.
I always look at the bad, and
Yeah.
because I think I'm a warrior person, I'm a type person, that worst case scenario type person,
Sure.
I don't like to fight, but I teach my son not to fight, but I tell him not to fight, but I teach him how to fight.
Sure, exactly. No, I get it. I get it.
He knows how to throw a combination if he needs to, but I tell him don't ever start it, and I think and we've said this before, we can be friends, we can be good friends.
Sure.
We can be really good friends and have different perspectives and have different ideas and have differences in our ideas, but still have a common. Maybe you and I don't agree on how to get there, but we both want to get to the same place.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what we as a people have to do. Is if we all can agree that there's a fucking broken system.
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's do everything in our power that we feel is right to fix that system. And I think as long as the more people feel that way, the more people realize that your perspective is different than mine, that we can move forward and make a real change, not just fucking, what my biggest fear of all this, Charlie, is that in a month when the next social media fucking viral thing happens, just like what seems to be happening with COVID, is that people are going to forget and move on to the next fucking thing. Because unfortunately, this seems to be the way our society is going. It's whatever's viral on fucking Facebook is the topic of the day. you know. So it's staying diligent. It's staying, aware of more than what's happening on fucking TikTok or some bullshit like that. You know, uh, there's a young man. His name's CJ. He's a fighter that I've refed, and he's a good kid. Not a perfect kid, but he's a good kid. And he's been protesting every day. He called me up and he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna be downtown. Your business is right there where we're ending. Like I just want you to know that I'm I want to make sure nothing happens." And that being aware, like he's there fucking protesting, he's there screaming, he's there saying we need change. But that's the type of change that we need, with people that are aware that the change isn't just for them. You see what I'm saying? That he's being considerate of everybody around him as well. So a good friend of mine used to be my MMA coach. He's a black man that's in the police force, and I text him here and there. It's just making sure he's okay. Because it's very stressful. And I think I feel the worst for black policemen because they're hearing it from both ends.
Yeah, totally.
And the pressure that they're under, because I truly believe most people join the police force because they want to be a good person. They want to help. I have a hard time believing that a black man would join a police force thinking like, yeah, now I get to fuck people up. I truly believe that they want to do it just like everybody else with the initial intent of being helpful and changing things. So, we just got to keep on keeping on. We got to keep on, going towards that end goal of fixing the system. And like you and I having this conversation, we may not see eye to eye, but I do think we see through the same eye hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, bottom line is positive change,
Right.
Evolution. And
People said it best. You want a revolution?
Here's the thing I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, but I wanted to ask you, in the midst of this, now with protests downtown and being around your business, stuff like that, because it's been a couple of weeks since we talked. How is your mindfulness in regards to food and or exercise?
It's 50-50. And I told you something
better than 100 to nothing.
Right. No, and I told you something before that, it seems like every week something's happening where I'm like, I start feeling good, then something happens. I'm like, I go stress eat, or something.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to open up an ice cream shop. So I'm making ice cream and having to eat it.
That's awesome.
Tough, bro. It's fucking tough world we live
in. I know it. Exactly.
You want to come taste test or what?
I do, but man, that would kill me.
But I'll tell you what I did this week. I'm gonna stop being fucking political because I'm whatever. I made a keto cake.
Nice. How was it though?
Last week. It was pretty fucking good. So I'm gonna make you one this week. So we gotta meet up soon. I'm gonna give it to you.
All right.
A cake. It's only 6 grams of carbs. For
calories.
It's a strawberry. Calories don't matter.
Yeah, to you they don't matter.
I'll tell you the breakdown.
How many calories? 6 Snicker bars.
5,000 calories, but only 4 grams are. No. It's made with almond flour and coconut flour.
All right.
It does have some whipped cream, but so it's keto is the high fat, protein, low carb thing. So I'm gonna make you one. It's really good. I'm gonna try to make some low carb lemon poppy seed muffins, cupcakes this week. So
right on. That's good, dude. I'm down.
I'll send you some pictures and post them on social.
I was gonna say that's a good note to end on, and I want to tell you that whoever unfollowed you, you don't need those people.
Yeah, fuck those motherfuckers, man.
I'm gonna tell you right now. You turned me on to Gary Vaynerchuk a couple years ago, and one thing that always stuck out from what he said in his book Crush It was legacy over currency.
Right.
And he's been a very vocal proponent for evolving and change and stuff like that during this time. And I think that you did that with that, not paying any mind, to who you might offend, whatever. You know what's right. You know what you believe in, and the fact is, how can anybody fault you for that? And if they do, you know what? That person needs to evolve. That person needs an opportunity to understand that, you know what, you're entitled to have your own opinion.
Right.
And if that offends you, that you're supporting people seeking justice,
Right.
fighting intolerance, you know what? It's one of those things. Maybe they won't get it, but maybe their kids' generation will understand one day. So,
to me, it's a perfect analogy for it is the Black Lives Matter movement. Is you have a couple kids, and one of your kids is hurt, and you're trying to help your kid.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. Yeah.
And everybody else saying, well, you have other kids too. Like, it doesn't mean I don't give a fuck about my other kids.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to help the one that needs the help the most.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, totally.
That way, all my kids will be healthy and safe.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. A little known historical fact. Descendants of the Japanese American interned during World War II were paid reparations by Reagan during the Reagan years, and I forget how much money they got or whatever. But I believe that some type of truth and reconciliation commission is definitely something that the government needs to consider. I believe that, like you're saying, this is something that is going to take a long time to change systemically, right? However, right now, there needs to be attention paid to all of the police brutality, all of the injustices that have been ignored. And you know what? If all it does is create awareness, I actually it's already done more than that. So it's good to see that. I'm happy about that, and but I also believe that it's not just about getting the president. It's not about.
To me, that's fucking nothing.
That's the beginning. That is, there are a lot of other things that need attention as well. Right now, create awareness, address this police brutality, address this injustice, address these things that need attention. But I'll tell you what, man, this is about as heavy of no pun intended, of a fat talk.
Hey, that's a good segue to end it. I love it.
Yeah. I love you, man, and I'm
love you too, bro. Hopefully next week it's not as heavy. Every week or every other week something heavy's happening, but it's hopefully next week we can just talk about my lemon poppy seed cupcakes.
I'll tell you what, man. We're man is a political beast, and we would be denying our conscience if we didn't discuss what's happening right now.
Right.
And so I pray that we can navigate this sea of uncertainty right now as best as possible. And I hope to see you soon. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been a good reflection on where we've been and where we're at now.
And hopefully where we're going.
And God willing, we all evolve and continue to pay attention to the things that need to have attention paid to. So,
amen.
That's right, baby. You hear that? You hear that music?
Love you, bro.
Hang on a second.